Well, good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time of day it is. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a minute since I made any XRP videos, and I know a bunch of you guys have been commenting, like, when XRP video, make XRP video. So here it is. Ta-da. This is it. Today, the beautiful day of XRP update. It is August 21st, 2022. SEC is still in an open investigation or open lawsuit against XRP and Ripple Labs. So what's happening? What is XRP doing? What's cryptocurrency doing? And where's the market headed for the rest of the year? Let's dive into it. Let's go. So, if you haven't seen me before, and I used to be way more involved in the XRP community. It used to be my biggest community in crypto, and I was a big fan of the XRP token. But some things had happened, some things have changed, and the market has obviously taken a downturn. So it looks like, for the most part, if you're brand new to the cryptocurrency space and you're kind of like looking around wondering like what's going on, this is a great video where we're just going to dive into what these are used for in the future, what the use cases of some of these cryptos are, why they might be potentially good investments. And I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not making financial advice. I'm just talking about things that I enjoy. And you can pick up some information, learn some things, and possibly clear out some of the misinformation that you have aggregated around this token and around the current financial markets. So first off, before we get too far into this, I just want to say, I know some of you guys are OG XRP community fan of mine, and you guys have been waiting for this video. This is not going to be a video specifically for you. I encourage you to watch it. I think you guys will get something great out of it, but this is primarily for people who are just now entering into the cryptocurrency space. Maybe someone has recently introduced them to Dogecoin. Maybe you took a position in Dogecoin and you're at a loss now, and you're kind of wondering, like, is crypto a scam? Is crypto going to happen? What's happening with this? And this is where I get most excited, is when we're in these bear markets, when prices are down, and when you can get a good position and start accumulating at a lower price point than you could 6 months ago. That's what gets me excited. I've kind of been in and out of the cryptocurrency space personally, just kind of watching what's happening, looking at some of the regulatory changes that have been going on. And I'm a big fan of this technology. I'm also a big skeptic as far as the way, sometimes the way that cryptocurrencies gain momentum and popularity in popular culture is by becoming an amalgamation of the worst possible way to get into crypto. Like NFTs is a great example. How many people bought NFTs in the peak and thought this was going to be the thing, and turns out it wasn't. Turns out that that's not the future. And it might be. NFTs have a place in the future of digital assets, and I think that they will be very important, but not in the form of pixel art that you purchase from someone. We can get into that in a few minutes or in another video. Primarily today I want to talk about the benefits of realizing what's happening with the history of financial systems leading us to now. I want to talk about the history of cryptography for a second. So if you think about where we are right now with our modern banking system, let's say you're a devil's advocate and you want to say cryptocurrencies aren't going to be used for anything. I would never take a position in them. I don't understand why anyone would invest in them or put money into them. And I can respect that decision. I can respect your choices with your own money. That's fine. But the reality of what's happening here is not to be ignored. And I encourage people to start educating themselves and understanding what's happening, because these changes will affect everyone. And there's a simple way to think about this. Like, you're on your phone right now playing on Instagram, and you post a story, you make a post, you interact with your friends, you're having a good time. You don't for a single second think about the HTTP protocol that Instagram's built on. And the reason you don't is because there's no necessity to it. It doesn't really have a purpose for you to think about the protocol that Instagram runs on. But the reality is that Instagram would not run and it wouldn't function unless there was an open interoperable protocol for the information to be exchanged through. The reality is that these systems that we've built for social communication and for entertainment and sharing, they have the potential to revolutionize the way we exchange money in the future and the way we exchange and trust private information. So let's pretend for a second that you went back in time and you were all of a sudden very rich. Let's say you had been a farmer 300 years ago, 400 years ago, and you just had a great season, your crops cleaned up, you have more gold than you've ever seen in your life. But you have to travel down this really dangerous road through 3 different cities to get back to your family's estate. Now this is a challenge because you are carrying so much gold by yourself, you could get robbed. There's not a lot of recourse you have. So one of the first uses of cryptography was actually the beginning of what we now use as the modern banking system. It was actually created by the Knights of Templar. And the Knights of Templar have a very special place in history. I could do a whole video just about them. But for the moment, involving cryptography, what took place was the very first use of a safe deposit system. So if I was this farmer and I had huge piles of gold and I was about to travel through this dangerous set of cities, through this long road, I could actually go to a Knights of Templar office and give them my gold, and they would give me a coded message. And they were the first to use cryptography to create a banking system. So I could give you my piles of gold, you would write out a cryptography code. It'd be a code for me to get my gold back at another Knights Templar office in another city. And this is the beginning of the future. This is the beginning of the banking system that we know now. And what's crazy is, as long ago as that was, and as basic of a system that was, we haven't moved away from that much since. We still use a encrypted, coded system to basically exchange value, and there's a third party that guarantees the money's there. They're the ones that check the accounts to make sure that you have money you're sending. And back in the day, that would have been the Knights of Templar. That was the organization that was the third party that guaranteed that the money would be taken in the correct amount and given out in the correct amount. So today, if I want to send my friend $20 on PayPal, it's super simple. I don't have to worry about getting robbed, walking down a dangerous path with a bunch of gold. I just go put it in a safety deposit box. Now, the reality of where we are today is that we haven't moved that much forward in the technology around banking. And what's happening today is exactly the same with a few more layers and maybe a computer involved. So if I send money to my friend on PayPal, I'm sending him $20. PayPal still has to verify I have $20 and then send it to my friend. And that costs a percentage, takes a fee, takes our data. It allows them to have control over if you can even send money or not. So these are big things that might not seem big now if you're living in a first world country and you're following, all of your governance laws and you're just sending money. Sure, no big deal. But what if that changed? What if you didn't have that option? Or what if you wanted to take a different option and you didn't want to use a third party to send money? The benefits of these trustless systems, the benefits of these crypto protocols is that they create a trustless database. It allows me to send money effectively without having to have it validated by a third party. Now this might seem like the most basic part of cryptography and cryptocurrencies, and you're like, I get it. It's no big epiphanies are happening here. But the reality is that the challenge for us to send money digitally and to verify it trustlessly, it does take a certain amount of energy. Now, the first, market maker, the first, market mover of this type of technology was Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has a very special place in cryptocurrency's shelf of assets because it's just the legacy asset. It seems like digital gold at this point, but there is a failure for Bitcoin to meet some of the functionality that a specific digital financial system would need to meet to be able to be functional in the future. And that would be one big thing. It's called microtransaction efficiency. Microtransaction efficiency. So if I can't send a penny efficiently, if it costs me more than a penny to send a penny, then it doesn't make a lot of sense to be building out these digital systems to send money. And you think like, who's sending a penny? But when you think about the way that smart contracts and businesses and integration of data sets are set up, you need to have microtransaction functionality for some of these systems just to be able to function moving forward. It's just a basic way they're going to work. So The reality is, for now, that we have basically entered the wild west of the future for financial systems. And the challenge here is that a lot of governments, all governments, use their monetary policy to control the populace, to control their regulation and their legislation. So one of the things that's going to be important moving forward is recognizing that where we are today is similar to where we were when the internet first started. When the internet first started, people were like, the internet, what's it going to do? No one's going to use it. Just hackers in dark rooms are going to play on the internet. And it turns out that's not true. We're all on the internet. We're all using it. And for the most part, most of us are using it on the application layer, which means that we are not interested in the underlying protocol. And that's fine. The value for a lot of tech companies today is caught in the application layer. So this does not necessarily mean anything other than the fact that we are prepared to move into a new threshold. We're going to cross a new threshold of what financial systems look like as far as international governance and international monetary policy. So the challenge here is when you think about what happens on an international scale with money, there's a degree of failure that is acceptable. There's an acceptable degree of failure. Like if you're sending money with SWIFT, there's millions and millions of dollars that are lost every day, and it's just part of the way they can do it. It's just the only way they can do it right now is to lose millions of dollars, let it get lost or hacked, and they don't talk a lot about it, but it happens. So there's a push and there's an importance for us to recognize there's an incentive to create a global monetary system. And the global monetary system is not going to be lagooned away from each other in all these small islands. Just like how in the beginning of the internet, when we first created our first internet database and servers, they were all isolated away from each other. We didn't have a lot of open interoperability. So when you look at what's happening with XRP and Bitcoin and Ethereum and BNB and Cardano, a lot of these coins and protocols, they have taken the time and been working really hard to create open interoperability to allow them to not become a lagooned asset away from the rest of the market. And what's really important about that is that for a long time, we did not trust and have the open interoperability of the internet to allow us to exchange information. But looking into where we're headed with financial systems, it doesn't really seem like there's any way to go back. No one's ever going to go back to the record. I mean, for nostalgia, they will. But we're not moving back to analog systems. The future is moving towards this digital age. And so most of what sticks out to me as really, really likely and potentially beneficial with the XRP protocol is the way that they've built the token to be functional at a microtransactional level and interoperable with any of the other assets, legacy assets or new digital assets. Now, there's a lot of speculation and FUD out there about the way that the XRP escrow works and the way that they utilize their escrow to fund the development of their infrastructure. I've always been a big fan of the way they utilize their escrow to fund their infrastructure, but other people think that it's kind of shady and that they do not approve of Ripple Labs' use of the XRP token to encourage people to utilize and build on the network. But looking at how companies function in Silicon Valley, it's very, very normal for us to encourage adoption and give incentives to utilize something we're building to bring more value to the network. So that's not a concern of mine necessarily that XRP has a majority of its escrow held by a private company in Silicon Valley called Ripple Labs. But that does upset some people. Some people will put their, pitchforks in the air and be very upset, mainly because there is a single private entity that controls a majority of the XRP token. And that's kind of contrarian to the ethos of cryptocurrency in general, where you are expected to rally behind decentralization. And that's not necessarily what's happening with the XRP token. So I understand that some cryptocurrency enthusiasts do not find it as appealing as I do. One of the things that kind of stuck out to me years ago when I started learning about financial system was the use and the involvement of the Federal Reserve in our monetary policies. It's very interesting. It's kind of like a standard and a benchmark for how governance and monetary policy is set around the world. So if you wanted to consider for a moment that the Federal Reserve is also not a government body, it's not a government entity, it's a private business, it's a private institution that we actually give a seat in our governance. So I don't think it'd be too outlandish for us to consider that a Silicon Valley digital asset lab, Ripple Labs, could be invited in to take a seat at the governance, the financial policy and governance of the next Bretton Woods contract. And if you know the history of the Federal Reserve and Bretton Woods, then you know it's a global effort to create a resilient form of an interconnected financial system. In fact, they've been trying to do this since the 70s and they failed. And the problem was in the 70s and the 80s that we didn't have the infrastructure and the technology to create anything close to what we have now. But even now in 2022, as we have the technology, we don't have the support of the populace, and we don't have the ability to just flip over into a new form of financial and monetary policy when our governance is so entrenched in all this legislation and global output, globalization. So specifically thinking about where we can expect cryptocurrencies to move in the future and what's happening with this space, I originally want to make this video just to blabber on about XRP for a few minutes and kind of like get people to think and take some notes. My real challenge and my real concern is that too many people are being introduced into cryptocurrency through Dogecoins and NFTs, and they take a position, the market turns back, Elon screws them because Elon's a douche, and all of a sudden they have a loss, they exit their position at a loss, and then they don't jump back into the market for a few more years until another random FOMO moment pushes them to take interest again. And that's my concern. My concern is that the general populace is not going to be informed and educated enough about this movement to know how to benefit from it. And the reality is that most of us don't understand financial systems and financial policies into their most basic function, the most basic degree of inflation and holding cash dollars is horrible for our future, for accumulation of value and for accumulation of wealth. But most people don't realize that. In fact, that's the degree at which the capitalism functions, is to keep people spending money by keeping their dollar worth less. So ideally, recognizing that holding dollars is not great. That's the first step. First step is to recognize that holding cash is not a great idea. So if you just pile up a bunch of cash, not going to do too well. Thinking about taking cash and putting it into long-term investment vehicles, that's the name of the game. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not here making financial advice. I am excited about teaching and recognizing the opportunities of taking long-term positions in investment vehicles that offer even just a few percentages of yield annually is way better than experiencing 9% loss of value, because that's what you're getting if you have 9% inflation. We have 9% inflation right now, possibly higher, and that means you have to make 9% annually on all your holdings just to break even every year. Now, that's why people invest in the stock market. Stock market annually does 17% returns. If we have 9% inflation, it's about 9% annually a year on all your holdings. The problem too is when you start looking at some of these cryptocurrencies as far as a form of investment, they're not that great because they don't have that much support. If you go look at the TradingView graph, I'm just going to screenshot this and put it up in the video for 2 seconds. The blue line is the S&P 500 and the green turquoise line is XRP price. Now you can see, even though we are in somewhat of we've just exited the bear market in legacy stock systems, and we're kind of rallying but also maybe dropping back down again. You can see even with the S&P being down a good percentage, it's not even close to as far down as XRP is 70% down in the year. Now, if you're thinking about finding things to invest in and finding good support, something that's down 70% of the year might scare you. It might be like, wow, at least the S&P 500 is pretty resilient, has a lot of support. If I keep investing, weekly or monthly, probably going to have a good return. That's the challenge with a lot of these cryptocurrencies, is that they don't have the regulatory framework and the support to create an actual support price. So that means that they're very volatile. And that means also that you should be very cautious about taking large positions and or selling out of large positions at a loss. Because for the most part, XRP is so volatile and not based off of any of the traditional market movements. And you can kind of see some of the pairings that are happening with the S&P and Bitcoin. They do kind of sync up a little bit, but that's only, I think, because of the market movers and legacy market investors have taken big enough positions in Bitcoin to kind of help move it. I'm not sure who is buying XRP and who isn't. I know that you still can't buy it in the United States unless you use the Uphold app, which is what I use, but it's still blocked from being purchased in the United States. As far as I know, the SEC case, or the lawsuit that's happening with XRP and Ripple and the SEC, this could be the last chance to take advantage of the price of XRP before possibly. So potentially no one really knows what the SEC lawsuit will yield and where that will take the token and what that'll happen for the regulatory framework for the rest of cryptocurrency space. But I do think it was interesting that as soon as XRP was delisted from Coinbase, there was maybe a week or two of it kind of going down and sideways, and then it shot up drastically as if there was some potential insider information coming to light, and it did not come back down to 17 cents since then. So it's been in a lawsuit with the SEC for a good duration of time and has yet to come back to that low price. So for the most part, I just want to encourage you to start thinking outside the box. Stop following people who are going to gain from pitching you some shit new token. It's not going to happen. Like, there's no just super one token that's going to rule them all and everyone's going to be like, this is the one, blah, blah, blah. I see that happen a lot. I see people, like I have a friend, love him to death, he's great, he's a super smart guy, but he took up a big position in Doge when it was a few cents and it went all the way up to 69 cents. And I was talking to him on the phone one day, and he had accumulated a good amount of Doge, value in Doge, and he was like, I think I'm just going to hold it till it goes to $20,000 and I'll have $20 billion. First and foremost, just learn about market cap. Just learn about the available supply of coins and the market cap and what that looks like for the price. Just start learning some of the basic token economics. Start thinking about investing. Learn about investing. Buy an investing book. Buy a trading book. And then think about what's actually happening with this. This is a unregulated, open, wild west of financial systems. So best of luck. Figure it out. You know, like, I personally think XRP is going to be like the bee's knees of interoperable, efficient systems for microtransaction functionality. And I think it's going to be utilized for a whole bunch of stuff that people can't even start to imagine yet. But this video, I promised myself I wouldn't make this video longer than 30 minutes, and we're getting close to that mark. I just wanted to come on and say, hey, say I'm a big fan of XRP. I really like cryptocurrencies in general, and I like the future of this technology and where it's going. And I want to encourage myself to start making more videos, so I just thought I'd sit down and make this one. So here we go. Cheers. You're amazing. If you've never seen my channel before, I used to make a bunch of videos all the time, and I used to stay really consistent in live stream, and I kind of have taken a break. Just had some, enjoying my own life for a moment. But now I'm back. I'm going to post some videos. Give me a subscribe if you don't already subscribe to the channel. Click the like button. Tell me a comment of some videos you'd like to see me make. I think the next few videos I'm going to make are going to be I'm going to do stocks you can invest in moments of inflation. So whenever the market has peak inflation, what should you be investing in? And I'm also going to do another breakdown of some option trading potential of what you missed out on last week for Bed Bath & Beyond. So those videos are coming up. Don't forget to say hey and have a great day. Do something nice for yourself. Drink some water. Go for a walk. Cheers. Farewell.
Brought to you by your team.